Hello everyone. I guess I'm audible to you all. If yes, please drop a yes message in the chat box. I request everyone. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the response. We'll be starting the session in next 10 minutes. I request you all to hang out over here.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are and whichever part of the world you are. I hope I'm audible. Can someone in the chat uh, let us know if you can hear me clearly? Yeah, thank you. Okay, that's great. I'm glad I'm audible. Excellent. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. All right, so let's begin our session. And today we have a very exciting session, very informative. It gives me great pleasure to host this session where we will be meeting the Dean of the Graduate School at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and she will be giving us some fabulous insights. So let's dive in right into our session. And I will introduce myself first. My name is Pavitra. I am the founder of Galvanize Global Education. I did my master's in electrical engineering from Stanford, and my specialization was digital signal processing and image processing. And I have worked in the Silicon Valley for quite some time. That's where I got the I was bitten by the bug of twin bugs of entrepreneurship and scaling things using technology, scaling experiences with technology. So I designed and launched multiple mobile apps, which became very successful. And I found Galvanize because while I loved my core subject, I was very passionate about the technology itself. I also wish to scale my journey for the next generation. And um, it is something that as by founding Galvanize, it has helped me equip the next generation with end-to-end guidance for studying abroad in terms of opportunities which I did not receive when I was a student myself. So that's the introduction to about me, and it's time for our first poll right here. So what we want to know is, have you attended any virtual college fairs or webinars, study abroad events before? Because this will let us understand how to set your expectations, and we would love to receive feedback from you as well. So great, I'm seeing a lot of responses. It looks like for 2/3 of you, you have attended, but for almost 1/3 of you, this is the first time. So I'm so happy that there are a lot of new people here, and we can make this a very special experience for you. Great. So next, wanted to give you a very brief introduction to Galvanize Global Education itself. And basically, we are an end-to-end personalized, provider of guidance for anyone aspiring to pursue a global degree, right? So this could be, right from the profile building, which is we evaluate students' profiles and give them a lot of guidance and recommendations on how they can strengthen their profile, what kinds of projects they can do, internships, and other areas where their profile is weak, and help them become more attractive applicants for universities, right? This is what we mean by profile building. And then we also guide our students in terms of the test preparation itself, such as the SAT, the GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, and so on, which are the exams that you need to take at various universities, right? So universities have these need to assess you, and I will talk a little bit about that today as well. And we also offer the admissions counseling, which is essentially the whichever degree that you want to pursue, may it be bachelor's, master's, MBA, or PhD, we can guide our students end to end. And we also connect them with the right sources for finding funding or financing their education, and we provide visa guidance as well. So as you can see, end to end, when it comes to studying abroad, our goal is to guide students in a personalized way, so they achieve their goals, right? So that's what Galvanize is about. I'm delighted to share that students from more than 65 countries have enrolled with us, have availed our paid services to help them achieve their study abroad goals. And we have helped our students reach more than 1,000 universities across 18 countries. And some of the most popular countries being the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and so on. We also have a worldwide user base. While students from more than 65 countries have paid for our services, students from literally every country on the planet have used our free services, such as our mobile apps. And here in the chat, we can share a couple of links with you to our mobile apps. And we will also share some links. We can paste some links in terms of Quora, as well as some of the other places where you can learn more about Galvanize Global Education. So I request my team to paste these links in the event as we speak, so you can open them in your browser and sort of review it after the session. So now let's actually dive into today's session itself. I'm so happy that we are going to learn a lot about UMBC. It is one of the most popular universities for students from different countries, and it is located in the state of Maryland in the US, in a county called Baltimore. And UMBC is ranked as a doctoral/research university. It has very high research activity, and they are one of the top public schools in the US. Public schools, therefore, that the tuition is lower. The cost of studying and the tuition is definitely lower than that of private schools. That's a huge advantage. It has it receives huge support from the federal government in terms of research grants. Fantastic acceptance rate, as long as you do all the right things and you qualify your application. They try not to say no to eligible good applicants, right? And they are a fabulous destination for international students. At any given point, you will find more than 1,000 international students. You will find a lot of them at UMBC, and therefore you get that kind of environment and support that would, you will be prepped both for success as well as for comfort. So that is something that I want to share. And let me also share with you a few of our students at Galvanize Global Education. I'm not going to go into detail right now. I will definitely go into detail at the end of my session today, where I will talk to you about these students who enrolled with us, whom we guided in their path to UMBC. All of these students are studying at UMBC right now. They underwent counseling out as preparation from Galvanize Global Education. So we guided them to get there. And you can see they're from different parts of, we've picked a few Indian students here, and but we do have students from all over the world. So these are some of the popular specializations that they've taken up. And if you stay with me right till the end of the webinar, I will actually walk you through their profiles, and I will let you know what they did in order to get accepted to UMBC. Okay, and now without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists for today, and gives me immense joy to introduce to you Janet Rutledge. She is the Dean of the Graduate School at UMBC. She is also a professor of computer science and electrical engineering. Incidentally, Janet is Janet has actually specialized in done her PhD and master's and PhD in digital signal processing, the same field that I studied for my master's. And she received her PhD and master's from Georgia Tech, which is again a very fabulous school. Before coming to UMBC, Janet served as the program director in the Graduate Research Fellowship program at the NSF, the very prestigious National Science Foundation. And she was also a faculty member in the Electrical and Computer Science Department at Northwestern University. And very interestingly, she has also worked closely with the ETS. In other words, she served on the board of advisors of the exams such as the TOEFL and the GRE, which are very important exams. She's been with them for quite a few years, actually. And she will talk to you more. So a highly qualified, knowledgeable individual. She's here to share her insights and her wisdom and advice for you all. It comes from years of experience, which she has honed her intuition. And I welcome Janet to take over and walk you through, walk you through her advice that she has for all of you today. And first, she will be talking to you about a UMBC itself, after which we will have a Q&A session. We've got a lot of questions curated from students just like you, and she will be answering all your questions after her introduction to the school. Over to you, Janet.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be with you this evening. It's morning for me, evening probably for most of you.
Janet, I'm sorry, we're not able to hear you. Or wait, I'm not able to hear you. Can you please continue speaking?
Okay, trying again.
Perfect, we can hear you right. Yeah, clearly, thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm very pleased to be with you today. Good evening to you. It's still morning for me, but it is a pleasure for me to be here and to talk with you about UMBC and to answer your questions about applying to graduate school. I know that many of you are excited about your pathways in the future, and I'd like to help ease some of your concerns that you may have about graduate school. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about UMBC. As is stated, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, but that's a big mouthful, so we like to go by UMBC. A little bit about us. We are located in Catonsville, Maryland, which is just outside of Baltimore. You can see in the picture in the back as you get toward the sky, that's actually the city of Baltimore that you can see from our campus. We are a mid-sized public research university. We have about 14,000 students total between undergraduate and graduate students. And as we stated, we are a Research One university, which has a doctoral university with a very high research activity. There are only 146 universities in the whole US that have this categorization out of the 3,000 to 4,000 colleges and universities that we have in the country. US News and is a magazine that gives rankings of universities, and we have been listed in the top 100 public universities. Some fast facts. We have right now about 3,500 graduate students. Over 1,900 are international students, so more than half of our graduate students are international students. Most of them come from India. And as it stated before, we're a very popular university for students from India. We have many graduate programs to choose from. I know many of you will be interested in programs in various areas of computing. We have more than 6 master's programs that fall under the category of computing, and I'll talk about those a little bit more. We've already heard about our tuition. We are a public university, and so our tuition is lower. It will still appear high in comparison to what you're paying in India, but we hope that you will see that it is a good investment and a good return on your investment. If we look at our graduates, 6 months after graduating, 95% of our graduates are either employed or continuing in graduate school. And almost all of those are in jobs that are related to the career goals that they had when they entered. So that's, I think, quite an impressive outcome. Again, about our location. So this map may be a little bit fuzzy, but we are on the East Coast of the United States. And Washington, D.C. is here. Baltimore, we're in between Baltimore and Washington, a little bit closer to Baltimore. This here is the Chesapeake Bay. And you can see that we are not that far from Philadelphia and New York City. So it's a nice area to be and able to visit lots of other cities. As I said, we are in Catonsville, which is a very welcoming and safe suburban campus. Some people hear Baltimore and think we are in the city. We are not in the city, but we do have access to the city. It's only about 10 minutes away by car. Washington, D.C. is about 40 minutes away by car, and you can get to New York City either by plane or by train or by bus. There's lots of communication options. We are along a technology corridor in the U.S., and so there are lots of high-tech jobs around our campus and close by in neighboring states. We also have a campus at Shady Grove. So in particular, for people who might be interested in biotechnology, that campus, that program is on the Shady Grove campus, and both of our data science and cybersecurity programs are available at both the Catonsville campus and the Shady Grove campus. Some highlights that we think you might be interested in. We do have a state-of-the-art fitness center that is available for students. It's already included in the tuition and fees that you pay. And there is a pool, indoor and outdoor pool, tracks, there's cardio equipment, and there are squash courts available. We have a health complex on campus that gives access to medical services with the doctor, counseling, spiritual well-being, spaces to pray, and more. As we are in a metropolitan area, so there are many grocery stores and restaurants that are close to campus. If we have a campus shuttle bus that can also take you around to local stores, to many of the apartments that are in the area, also goes to downtown Baltimore and to the airport. And we have a wonderful set of student services to support your success. This includes an award-winning career center, and I'll talk about that in a moment. We have a writing center to help support you with writing. We have study spaces that are available every day, all day long, and very different kinds of ways that we offer academic support. Here are the programs that we offer, and it's available on our website, so I don't expect you to memorize all of these. But the programs that you see in bold are the ones that require a GRE. The other programs do not require a GRE. The GRE can be optional. You can submit it if you think it will help your admission if you have a very strong score, but otherwise only the programs that are bold, such as computer science, electrical engineering, computer engineering, engineering management, require that you submit a GRE score. We have an office that gives international students support. It starts with visa and immigration services to help you get ready. They have webinars before you arrive to help you learn all of the things that you need to do. They help you understand how to get authorization to work off campus. There's something called curricular practical training that you're eligible after 1 year of being a student, where you can have an internship while you're still in school, OPT and STEM OPT that are available once you graduate. There's some opportunities to work on campus, although those are limited. We have community services available if you're interested in getting a driver's license, or if you need to get a social security number, if you'll be supported as a graduate assistant, information on taxes, etc. And helping and programs that help build community. We have something called the Global Ambassadors, and these are current international students who will help you get settled even before you arrive on campus. And I said we had an award-winning career center. So, and we actually did win an award from the PIE for the services that we do for international students. Some examples include reviewing your resume, assistance with applying to jobs, and finding campus jobs, internships, practicums if you're in a program that requires a practicum, workshops to help you understand the U.S. work environment, and preparation for your interviews. Handshake is the online portal that we have on campus that helps you find job opportunities that are available. We have several career fairs throughout the year where companies come to recruit our students. There are hundreds of employers that come, and in the brochure that we have for the career fair, there's always an indication of what kinds of positions they have available for, whether it's master's, PhD, and if they are hiring international students. We also have a special career conference for international students with workshops and presentations, and companies that are there that are specifically looking to recruit international students. Return on investment. I know this is very important to you. If you are going to invest your hard-earned money in an education from the US, you want to make sure that you are getting a return on that investment. And so we have very high quality programs from faculty, and our staff are there to help you. Top tier faculty that are research innovation, the innovators in their field. We talked about the career support already. There are employers that come to UMBC because they know the high quality of our graduates, and they are ready to come and find the up and coming talent. The average starting salary for our graduates from engineering and computing fields was $95,000, and that was back in 2022, so that's a while back. They're even higher now. We have a delay in when our Career Center processes the survey results. And if you look at all fields, not engineering, so in our social sciences and in some of our other fields, it's a little bit lower, but it's still quite impressive. And as we talked about all of the supports, it's really, I think, important to your success and your happiness that we give you the opportunity to have a sense of community and a sense of belonging on our campus. And so I think if you look at the cost to attend UMBC, and you look at many of the peer campuses and the cost and the value, I think that you'll see that UMBC is very competitive. If you want to connect with UMBC students, as I stated, we have our global ambassadors, and they are experts on life at UMBC. They are current students, and they are very excited about answering your questions and helping you to understand whether UMBC is a good fit for you. And you give an opportunity to start chatting with our students. And there's the web link there on how, if you want to get involved with asking them questions now, even before you apply. And finally, if you have questions, we encourage you to go to the website for our Center for Global Engagement, where you'll see all of the information needed for international students, for applying, what life is like, and your transition to UMBC. And I will stop sharing now.
Thank you so much for your walkthrough. I learned a lot, and I'm very excited to see the kinds of numbers and ROI that you shared. That's a very popular question, and you've already addressed that for us. So thank you. And now that we've had an overview about the university, how many of you are keen to know about the admissions process itself? In other words, how many of you right now watching this session, do you want to know? I'm sorry, I think I just launched the wrong poll, and I cannot launch it back. Sorry, the order was all mixed up. The UMBC admission process, yes. How many of you are keen to know about the UMBC admission process? You want to know what you need to do, what is expected of you as an applicant, what are the timelines, what documents and other supporting documents are expected. So please let us know, and we will love to answer, and we just want to know how much, because then we can spend more time digging into this. So, and those of you asking questions, raising your hand, I appreciate that. If you could type your questions later in the chat. Like, we do have a lot of questions that we're going to come to, and at the end of the session there will be a few minutes for Q&A, and we would love to take your questions as well. But do type your questions in the chat, please. All right, 70% of you are very keen to know about the UMBC admissions process. So, and 20% are somewhat keen, so like 90%. Janet, I think you have your work cut out for you today. So let's go, the UMBC admissions process. And that will bring us to the our first question. So what are the application criteria? What is it? What can what is, let's actually get into the UMBC admissions process, and then we can talk about the weightage given to various aspects.
Sure. I know this is a very important question, and the admission process for all U.S. universities, it's not just UMBC, is probably very different from what you're used to in India. So in the U.S., we think it's very important to look at the whole student. So you might see words like holistic admissions, where we're looking at the whole student. We don't just look at GPA and say, everyone with the highest GPA, you're admitted. If you have the highest test scores, you're admitted. Our faculty actually go through and look at your performance in individual classes that you've taken to find out what is your background, and is your background suitable for the program that you want to study? What are the kinds of experiences that you've had? Have you done research with a faculty member? Have you had other work experience where you contributed to projects that were open-ended, so that you are able to do more than just answer back the questions that are posed in your classes? So they want to get to know you as a student. They want your statement of purpose to talk about what motivates you. Okay, this is your chance to help people understand more about you than just your grades and your test scores and things like that. What makes you excited to go to graduate school, and why are you interested in perhaps UMBC in particular? Was there something about our school that maybe was more interesting to you than another place? Were there particular faculty members whose research you were interested in doing if you're going into a research-based program? I know many people want to come in and graduate as quickly as possible and opt to enroll in master's programs that don't require a thesis. Letters of recommendation. So many letters of recommendation simply say that you're the best student that they've ever had. And that's not really helpful to us. What we need to know is why. What is it about your performance that stood out? What is it that would make you particularly a good candidate for graduate study? And those are the kinds of things that we are looking for in the whole package. What are the application deadlines? It varies by program, but for the most part, if you're applying for the fall semester, most of the application deadlines are around the middle of January. And if you're applying for the few programs that allow spring admissions, the application deadline is usually June 1st of each year. But we have all of the deadlines are posted. And if you fill out the form on our website that asks for additional information, then you will get placed on our list where we send out information, including reminders about deadlines for various programs.
Thank you so much. When you talked about the holistic admission process, I think that is probably one of the biggest differences. And
Yes.
the fact that, weightage is given to various aspects. This is something that a lot of Indian students and students generally from Asia or Africa are not used to, because that is not how the system works in their home country. And therefore, this is definitely something that I'm really glad you touched upon this. So let's look at let's zoom in a little bit, and take things to the next level. Now that you've talked about what all is needed from the student, what really goes on behind closed doors when the admissions committee reviews applications? This is a question students ask us very frequently, because they want to know what happens. Okay, I have hit the submit button on the university's application portal before the deadline. Then what happens? Who looks at my application, and what are the different stages of screening, and when do the faculty members actually look at my statement of purpose? So could you touch upon these questions?
Sure, and this varies by program. So some of our programs will start reviewing applications as soon as they come in, and they do their admissions on what we call a rolling basis. These are particularly some of our larger programs, like data science, for example, that accepts a large number of students. They will often start reviewing the applications as they go along. Other programs, such as computer science, will hold all of their applications. So no matter how far in advance you applied, they wait and they review all of them around the same time, because they don't admit as many students. And so they're looking at having a balance of students across the various areas of specialization they have within computer science. And so those are two extremes of examples. Most of our programs will not start reviewing applications until early January, because they are in a cycle of finishing up their spring admissions in the fall. So they start looking at applications for the next fall, usually in January and February, and try to get out most of their admissions decisions in late February and early March is the timeline for most of them. Some of our programs will have one or two faculty that will go through and do a pre-screen before it goes to the committee. Other programs that don't get as many applications, the whole committee will review all applications. We have a few programs. So at the PhD level, there's a much higher level of screening because we have to make sure that there is a faculty member that would be a good fit for doing your dissertation research. At the master's level, if the person is not going to be doing a thesis, then there's less, it's less important that there be a faculty member that has an opening in their lab to supervise the research of the student. So it really varies by program. We are trying to get more of our programs to get admission decisions out early because we know that students are very eager to find out whether they'll be admitted, and that we also know that we have in the past lost some very good students because we were a little bit slow in getting our responses out.
Thanks a lot. And I'm just going I'm going to take a moment to mute the participants. I think, and I just want to make sure, Janet, that you can still speak. So, okay, hold on. Let me just unmute you.
Okay, now can you hear me? I just unmuted myself.
I can. Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's going to be easier. And a lot of you are raising your hands and asking questions. That's great. She is here to answer your questions. And I know some of you are actually posting your questions in the chat, but can you, we will come to your questions at the end of the session. First, we are going to answer the most frequently asked questions. So we will come back to you. Okay. Meanwhile, maybe Janet, you can just go through some of the questions and we will come back to it at the end. Okay.
That sounds good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing what happens behind closed doors. That's a revelation, and that's fantastic. And I love the fact that collectively, you know, every person in the university works as a team, and they try to do their job to make sure that every applicant, you know, every application is done justice to. And it really, you know, it takes a town, or it takes a village, as they say, but yes.
It really does, because what we want is to admit people who can be successful here, right? Because the you know, when people apply to a university, you have goals, and you're investing your time, and you're investing your money, and your ambitions. And we want to do a very careful screening to do the best job that we can to ensure that the people we admit will be able to finish, because that's our goal, right? We want you to finish. We want you to be happy. We want to be able to provide you a good experience.
Great. And speaking of the goal, it's time for a poll, right? So how many of you have actually started working on your college application process, right? That is, we are right now in 2024, so fall 25 applications will be due in a few months. Spring 25 applications also be due. So how many of you have already started working, and how many of you are just thinking about it and have not started doing anything? So all right, very interesting numbers. You know, it reminds me of the 80-20 adage, because right, it's exactly 80-20 right now. 20% of our audience has started working towards their applications, and 80% are yet to start. So great, thanks everybody for sharing, and I hope this session will be very useful for both segments. Especially if you haven't started, please pay attention, because you can the right advice can change the foundation of your application and make it much stronger. All right, speaking of the right foundation, let's talk a little bit about the GRE and the TOEFL exams. I'm going to give a brief overview, and then we will hear Janet talk about how UMBC views these exams. So basically, starting with the GRE and the TOEFL, now these exams are conducted by ETS, the Education Testing Service Organization based out of New Jersey, the US. And it's a nonprofit, and they have been doing this for decades, because it is one of the very few exams that is conducted around the world in exactly the same way. And therefore, it gives you, it gives universities a perspective on on evaluating students around the world on a similar platform. Right? Students can be from different countries, different universities, different kinds of evaluation methods and teaching methodologies, but these exams can help evaluate you in the same way around the world, and that is what makes them a very powerful tool for universities. So a little bit about the GRE. It has it is primarily computer based, and it's conducted in test centers around the world. It does have a home option, but we strongly encourage you to take the test at a physical test center. And as soon as you begin, you will have a 30-minute essay, an analytical writing, and followed by verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning, 2 alternative sections. So the total time is around 2 hours. You can take the test not more than 5 times a year, but so study well and get it right on your first attempt. I'm very happy to share that the score improvement for Galvanize GRE students, the average score improvement is around 12 points, which is a substantial jump. And if you want to know more about our GRE test preparation, you can definitely check out our website. And I'd request my team to share our GRE link here. And this is the fee for the exam. There is no limit to taking age limit, but you have to be very careful when you register for the test in terms of the ID, the name, and all the details that you give. You can share your score report up to 4 universities for free as part of the while taking the test. And now let's move on to the TOEFL. While the GRE tests your math and verbal reasoning and analytical reasoning skills, the TOEFL is a test of communication. It evaluates your English communication abilities, how well you're able to speak, read, write, hear, and understand English. And this is also just close to 2 hours, and it's offered more than around 50 times a year. You can take the test online. Again, it's strongly recommended that you take the TOEFL at a physical test center, right? So they can verify your ID that it will be you who is actually writing the test. So that's just a brief intro about these exams. Since most students hail from countries, international students hail from countries where English is not the first language, and that is not your mother tongue, as we call it in India. The universities need to ensure that you have excellent, you can understand what professors are saying, you can move your way around the campus. So it's important to take these exams, and the TOEFL is valid for 2 years while the GRE is valid for 5 years. So that's an introduction to the exam themselves, but let's look at how UMBC interprets your GRE and TOEFL scores. And Indians love to use the terminology cutoff scores. So over to you, Janet, on unveiling these aspects for us.
Thank you. So with the TOEFL, we do have a cutoff score. It is 80 for the TOEFL test. We do accept TOEFL Essentials, and that would have a minimum score of 8.5. Some of our programs do have a higher TOEFL requirement because they're much more writing intensive. As I indicated, only some of our programs require a GRE, and we do not have a minimum cutoff. And in fact, as you know, I was served on the GRE board, and the board members felt it was really important that it was not appropriate to use minimum GRE scores for admissions or decisions about prestigious fellowships. And so the GRE score is really another piece of information that we get about you that when combined with looking at your transcripts, we get a better understanding of your academic preparation.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot. So it's such a relief to know that these exams are important, but they're not the be all and end all of one's candidacy, right? So let's dive into the programs at UMBC. What are your popular? You talked about some of them already, especially the programs in the computing related areas. And what are the what are the popular programs that Indian students, and we also have students today from other countries in Africa and Asia. So what's popular amongst these students, and do let us know about the kind of career opportunities later.
Sure. So most of our international master students are in the College of Engineering and IT. And so that would mean our largest program is data science. And that has about 700 students in it. So it is our largest program by far. Other popular programs are computer science, information systems, health information technology, software engineering, human-centered computing, cybersecurity. These are some of the most popular programs, plus engineering management is very popular because that's a program that combines engineering, but also business. And so people who are very interested in being in managerial areas within and in manufacturing and other areas, engineering management is a very popular program. Our biotechnology is very popular. That can prepare you for careers in pharmaceuticals, as well as in other areas in biotech. We have a certificate related to that about getting drugs approved through the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA in the United States, and the requirements for approval in other countries are often very close to what we do in the U.S. At the I guess some other master's programs that many students are interested in outside of engineering and information technology would be in physics, in biology, in mathematics and statistics, and in statistics in particular. We also have an emphasis in biostatistics. We have a program in community leadership for people who are interested in being in a nonprofit and learning how nonprofits operate and function well. So we have lots of programs that are of interest, but by far the programs in engineering and computing have been the most popular. We also have a program in entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership with individual certificate programs. And we have a number of certificates that are 4 courses that you can get in addition to the master's degree. So for example, if you were in information systems and wanted to get a certificate in cybersecurity, you could get both of those at the same time.
That's very interesting because it feels like 2 birds with 1 stone, and a lot of the programs you spoke about are STEM certified programs, right? So the stay
Yes,
back
all of those. Yes, UMBC is at the graduate level, has a lot of STEM programs. Our largest non-STEM program is actually in public policy. And the public policy people also work with STEM if you're interested in policy for, for technology. And so for those of you who have political aspirations, public policy, along with a tech background, can be very popular. Within our economics master's program, there is a data science pathway, so you can combine data science with economics. We have a program with the law school at the University of Maryland, Baltimore. That's another campus where you can look at cybersecurity and law, and data science and law.
That's a wealth of interdisciplinary programs that you have, right? And in general, I always tell students that if you're an expert in one area, that's great. But if you can straddle 2 different areas, especially one of them is a tool and one of them is a domain, like for example, computer science and economics, right? Or statistics and biology, like then you are really powerful. You can do a lot more with what you have. So I'm so glad to hear about these opportunities. That's great. So moving on to our next question. This one is about research and PhD opportunities at UMBC.
Yes. So you saw on the list, most of our STEM programs that have master's programs also have PhD programs. And I'd say what's unique about UMBC versus other universities is that we are surrounded by companies. And so there are often opportunities to have some of the work that you're doing with a PhD be applicable to what's going on in our federal research facilities. Like we're very close to NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And so a lot of our work is with NASA. A lot of our work is with the National Institutes of Health. And so students can have an opportunity to apply some of what they're doing on their research while at the companies and at the federal agencies while they are pursuing it. So we also have a motto at UMBC that's called public research for public good. Because we want to make sure that as a public university, right? So the taxpayers are subsidizing the education at UMBC. And so we want to make sure that the research that we are doing is also providing benefits to the public. And for me, that's something I'm very proud of and makes me one of the reasons that I love UMBC and I've been here for so long. As far as the applicants, how do they differ? I think that for the PhD, it's particularly important in your statement of purpose that you talk about why you want to get a PhD, right? So a master's is kind of obvious. Most people want to get a master's because they want to get a higher paying and a better job, a job that is, a higher level of intellectual stimulation. But a PhD degree is all about doing research. And so they're going to want to understand why you are motivated to do research and what are your career goals that state that getting a PhD is most important. If you say, I want to study a PhD and I'm interested in getting a better job, they're going to say, well, the PhD might not be the best goal for you. The average time to degree for a PhD at UMBC is 5.5 years. In engineering and computing, many students will get a master's degree first, or they'll get a master's degree along the way because a master's degree can also be very useful. But when it comes to PhD admissions, it's important that there be a faculty member who has an opening in their lab to work with you. So even if you're the top student, if you want to do something that UMBC doesn't have, right? So, because, I'll take my field, electrical engineering is quite broad. There are areas of electrical engineering that we don't have faculty expertise in. And so when you are applying for a PhD, you have to look to make sure that the area that you're most interested is at that university. And that you talk about it in your application, talk about why, what kinds of experiences have you had before this that make you know that that's the kind of thing that you want to study. Otherwise, it's probably better to do a master's degree first and get exposed to some more areas so that you can then consider applying for the PhD after you know a little bit better what you want to do for your PhD.
That was sage wisdom. I know a lot of students who apply for a PhD because they think that it can, free funding, but that is not the reason to apply for a PhD. And you will be very unhappy if you do a PhD solely motivated by a fully funded education. It's a research, and the passion for the research and the aptitude for research is what a PhD is all about. And it's, like you said, the average duration is 5 to 6 years. And therefore, while it is true that undergraduate students can directly get accepted to a PhD program, you should still demonstrate the aptitude for research in your application. So,
and it's the why, what motivates you, right? Exactly. So, I think our faculty are aware that, for the most part, master students do not get funding in assistantships. Almost all full-time PhD students in science and engineering areas do get a full graduate assistantship for the whole time. And so the faculty know that some people will just apply for the PhD to get funding, and they say, I can get the master's and then drop out. But from the very beginning, if you are in a PhD program, even if you're getting the master's along the way, the kinds of things that you're going to be expected to do will be a little bit different, and it's going to be less, less applied and getting you ready for the job. And they're going to want to understand that. They're going to, they will likely do an interview, and you would have to be able to explain why a PhD is necessary for you to achieve your career goals. And they're going to want to know that those career goals are appropriate to a PhD.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of career goals, career opportunities for students at UMBC, what support is provided for campus recruitment and job fairs and so on? You already talked about starting salaries, but could quickly recap it for us too.
Sure. So many students, when they come on campus, they visit the Career Center right away and get to know them and get to start thinking about things. Because if you say typically a student starting in the fall, after you finish your fall semester and your spring semester, you're eligible for CPT that following summer. And so the earlier you start researching what companies are available and getting your applications in, getting ready for the career fairs that are happening, the better off you'll be, right? So planning and preparation can really pay off. The typical starting salaries in computing and engineering are in the mid to upper 90s. And for other disciplines, it's in the 80s.
Yeah.
And there's the what should I major in to get a good job? You also have to be thinking about what is it that I want to do, because every day when you get up, if you are in a field that you hate and you only selected it because you could get a better job, then you're going to be an unhappy person. So think about the kinds of things that you like to do, the things that you're good at doing. And that should really help drive you, because all of the degree programs that we have, people are getting very good jobs.
I love that. All of the degree programs that we have, people are getting very good jobs, right? That's what matters. It matters to parents as well, right? That because many of our parents support our students, but I'm also seeing a lot of students take fully funded education loans. And
Yes.
the fact that you have excellent starting salaries at UMBC mean that if you spend wisely, you can actually pay back your loan during the 3-year STEM stay back period, right? So it's a perfect win-win situation.
That's right. And if you can get your internship during the summer between your first and second year, you can also earn additional money. And there can be opportunities to work during your second year while you are still taking your classes. And so some students do that. You could finish in 3 semesters if you want to. Some students extend to 4 semesters and could even work part-time in an internship while they're finishing up their coursework.
Oh, that's great. And I'm sure a lot of students would, if they can manage that, they can use the opportunity. And speaking of financing our education, can you tell us a little bit about the total cost of attending UMBC?
Sure. So we have a website I can share, or just give you the information. So for the fall semester, our tuition and fees for graduate students who are non-resident, so an international student would be non-resident, is $1,450 per credit. And typically, you're required to take 9 credits per semester to be full-time. So if you take that amount and you multiply it by 9, that would be the cost of the tuition and fees for your education. On the website, we have tools for you to look to see what the total cost of education will be. Part of it depends on where you're living. So Some people like to live in fancier living options and want to have a car. So that would be more expensive than people who are living in less fancy housing. But altogether, you need at least $40,000 for a year, for 2 semesters of being at UMBC. And in some cases, depending on your living situation, $50,000. All of that information is on the Center for Global Engagement page. They have, the ranges and what's included in the ranges. And as I said, there are cost calculators that are on the website that allows you to factor in a number of things. Some of you may be coming with families, and so you'd have to factor in the cost of spouse and children, which of course would add to those expenses. We don't have residence halls on campus for graduate students. We do have a campus apartment, but the apartment on campus is more expensive than the apartments in the surrounding area. So very few international students pick that option, but they are fully furnished and have high-speed internet and washers and dryers, so they're quite nice if you want to have the convenience of being right on campus. But the shuttle bus that we have that's included in your tuition and fees does go to all of the neighborhoods around campus, and you can track you can see online the various routes, and we also have an app to track when they are, so you don't have to be standing out waiting for the bus. You can predict when it's going to come.
That's lovely. You literally transported me, and I'm sure many of us, to your campus. So thank you. A little bit about scholarships. What are the different types of scholarships at UMBC? What should a student do to especially, to be worthy of a scholarship? And what about loans, the RO? You already spoke about the RO.
Yeah, so unfortunately, UMBC does not offer scholarships for master's students. But on our Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships website, there is a search where you can put in information. They'll ask you a bunch of questions, and then it'll search for all of the scholarships that you might be eligible for. Most of our master's students are financing their education with loans. All of our master's programs in STEM areas are available through Prodigy Finance, and many others get bank loans. But you see that when you graduate, you have a very high salary, and you can take several years to pay back those loans. And I think you could talk to some of our ambassadors, or even you see the profiles of the students who have come through Galvanize at UMBC, and find out what they think about whether it is worthwhile. And remember, when you get an advanced degree, you're going to be making a higher salary for the rest of your life. And so for most of us, that means 40 years of working. And so working at the higher salary can really be a big payoff. And the types of work that you'll be doing is far more challenging and more interesting. And think about that when you're getting up every day and going to work, that you want to be excited about getting up and going to work every day.
Absolutely. A lot of our students have in fact taken loans from Prodigy Finance, and we guide our students on how to fill up their loan application form as well. We support them in doing that. And what I love about working with Prodigy Finance is that they don't expect any collateral from the student or a cosigner, because they literally give you the loan as long as you've got accepted to a top school, and UMBC is one of those for a program. For example, for an engineering program or a STEM program at UMBC. And it's great because the students don't have to put pressure on their parents. to mortgage their property or anything like that. So if any of you want such student loans, do let us know and we can guide you on how to apply to these loans. All right, wrapping up with some advice for international students. From what countries do you get students? And since we have a lot of Indians among our audience today, how are they represented among your graduate student base?
Sure. So we have international students from 61 different countries. When you walk around the campus, you see people from all over. And the state of Maryland itself is quite diverse. And so many of the students who were born and raised in Maryland have a family background from another country. So as you're walking around campus, you don't know necessarily which students are international and which students are from Maryland, but you see students from all different backgrounds and speaking all different languages. And so it's quite a rich environment. Students from India, that's our highest base. We have hundreds of students from India. And in fact, one of our largest and most active graduate student organizations is ECTA. We used to every year have a Diwali celebration. And for the past 2 years, we haven't been able to do it because we don't have any place on campus that's large enough to host it. And so, you can say that that's a good problem and a bad problem at the same time, because it was really a wonderful, fun celebration. And many of the students that I got to know would do performances, and it was really thrilling to see the level of talent that we had. But hopefully we will find a solution so that we can continue to have that kind of celebration. And expressions of, some other examples within the food service on campus. They take feedback from students, and because of demand, they have changed some of the options that are available on campus that are more welcoming for Indian tastes. I hope they're doing a good job, but they're at least trying to serve the taste and for the different kinds of food options. And we have, like I said, many restaurants around the campus. The Baltimore, Washington area is a very culturally rich area. And so you can try foods from all over the place. One of my favorite restaurants is from Afghanistan. And so you can try foods from all around the world.
Oh, wow. That sounds so tempting. And it's such a sweet gesture to, add items and options on the menu to cater to different palates and cultures. So that's great. Thank you. And now it's time for the fourth poll. How did you feel about the session? Because we are about to wrap up it shortly, and we will have some time for Q&A if Janet has a few more minutes. But I would love to know, if you have any feedback on the session, so please let us know. How was this session for you? Thank you all for answering, and I'm delighted to know that everybody found it useful. So that's wonderful. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we have sessions like these where we bring in experts to talk about their university or their field of expertise. And we would also love to know what kind of sessions you'd like to see in future, in case any of you wants to hear from perhaps specific faculty members from specific programs or departments. Like the engineering management is very popular. We'd love to know more about that, or maybe data science and so on. So whatever topics you'd like us to conduct in future, do let us know in the chat. Maybe Janet can speak with faculty and try and see if we can address some of these topics as well. So It's great. So, and I did promise you at the beginning of the session that I will share some information about Galvanize Global Education students who are matriculated to UMBC, which is it's a fancy term of saying that that's where they're doing their masters. So this is Bharat. As you can see, I've shared some of the profile. I just want you to know, like, because the process is holistic, it's not just about the GPA or the test scores. It's also about how we guide students in terms of the essays, and it's also about the relationship you have built with your faculty members and the kind of letters of recommendation that they have. But on the whole, it's a holistic process, and Bharat is doing his master's in data science at UMBC. Meet Tanya, she's from Pune, and she stuck to her core discipline, master's in India, it's electronics and communications engineering. I'm sure EC at UMBC is probably electrical and computer engineering. This is her GPA and test scores. And I'm sure there's a lot more in terms of projects and internships and her aspirations that, we talked about. This is Lakshmipati, he's from Bengaluru. He switched his major from electrical and electronics engineering in undergrad to a master's in cybersecurity. And if you want to know what you need to do to switch your major, that is definitely something our admissions team can help you with, because not everybody wants to, pursue a career in the field that they majored in their undergrad, right? Let's meet Chaturya. She's from Bhimavaram, and her master's at UMBC is in the field of data science. And this is also a very popular option. We are surrounded by data everywhere, and definitely the skill of analyzing this data and making it more useful is something that will hold you in good stead. This is Aditya, who did his bachelor's in computer science. He's from Tamil Nadu in India, and he is also doing his master's at UMBC in data science. So this just gives you, an idea of different perspectives, what different people did, and what they chose to do. But for all of them, we have spent a lot of time in guiding them to apply to select the schools to apply to based on their profile, and also in terms of their statement of purpose and so on. So we would have guided them, throughout the process. So how we start is by evaluating each and every student's profile. We go through more than 50 different parameters about your profile, and based on that, we shortlist universities for you, whether it's ambitious or practical or quote unquote safe. And then we help you with the essays. See, the inputs for your essays come from you. Your statement of purpose has to be original. It has to be true. It has to have facts. It's just that a lot of Indians, or for that matter, students from Asia or Africa or even South America, I find that the education system that you're used to, both in school and in during your bachelor's program, has not equipped us to write about ourselves, or to write at length, right, about topics which have nothing to do with academics, right, about experiences or to craft a narrative. It's just not something that we're taught, even in school, and it's a pity, and I hope it, I can see it changing. So what we do at Galvanize is that we take your inputs, we ask you questions that whose responses help us understand what your journey is like. And then we help you put it together, and such that it's your story, but it comes across as if it's being professionally written, and the highlights of your profile are the important turning points really come out. So for example, many students ask me, well, I have already submitted my resume. Why do I need to submit a statement of purpose? What is this essay? I've never been asked to write such a thing. So what we tell them is, yes, you have a resume. And a resume says what you did, where you did it, when you did it. But it doesn't say why you did that project or internship. It doesn't say what you learned from that experience. And it doesn't say what you chose to do next, and how it was predicated on the previous experience. And all of this is what you will talk about in your SOP. It's your statement of purpose is really important. And let's make sure that it comes out right, and it reflects and it does justice to your experience. So after the university evaluates your application, including the letters of recommendation from your faculty, then they will give you the acceptances or rejections, whichever, and I hope we have a lot more acceptances than rejections. And then it's time for financing and visa and other pre-departure services, and we can guide you on these steps as well. So this is how Galvanize can help you throughout the journey. We also help you with GRE preparation and TOEFL preparations, fully online, it's fully personalized. If I may say so, I designed our GRE preparation. I happen to get score 99th percentile on all the 3 sections of the GRE, and I kind of designed our pedagogy in such a way that it tries to bring out what I wish I had when I was doing my preparation, which I did all on my own, and I kind of really wanted to scale my experience for the next generation. So that's about our GRE and our TOEFL preparation as well. So and now it's time for our penultimate poll. How do you plan to support your admissions process? Like, who do you intend to primarily seek guidance from? Are you going to do it 100% by yourself? 2, are you going to rely on your friends and family, and that's about it? 3, are you going to look to your college seniors, those who've already graduated, or are you going to work with a professional, study abroad consultant? So I would love to know what's your primary plan. It's not one or the other, you can do all of them, but it sort of helps to have clarity in terms of how you will approach this journey. And the one thing I can say for a study abroad consultant like Galvanize is that while you will see only your application, and as a student in your undergrad, we have seen thousands of students' applications, and therefore we have developed both an intuitive sense as well as a data-based perspective on how to guide students and how to bring out your strengths in a way that convinces the university. So thank you for that. And just before we wrap up, thank you. This is here, you can click on this link here. We will also share it in our chat, gxprep.com/profile. And you can, because you attended today's webinar, you can get a free profile evaluation from one of our admissions advisors. So if you would like to avail this, please let us know. There's a yes or a no, and if you say yes, you can just click on this link, and also we will follow up with you. So here you can, so in a session like this, it's very difficult for people to ask specific questions that are not necessarily relevant to the audience at large, right? But if you want to bring in your profile, suppose it's in a one-on-one profile evaluation with our study abroad advisor, you are expected to bring in your resume and your goals and your aspirations, and we will discuss your profile and only your profile. So we will, you can get into the depths of the number of backlogs that you have, or your internship, or what kind of project you want to do, and we will advise you from that perspective. So okay, so that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. And I would, at this time, I will open the floor to Q&A. A couple of you had very specific questions. Let me read out from the chat. I hope, Janet, you have a couple of few more minutes. You have also been answering some of the questions. One of the students asked if I can directly do a PhD after my bachelor's, and I believe the answer is yes. Would you like to talk about the differences? If someone has a master's and they're applying to a PhD versus someone with a bachelor's and they're applying to a PhD, how are their applications assessed, evaluated at UMBC?
Sure. So the quick answer to the first question is yes, you can apply directly to the PhD. And in programs in the sciences such as physics, because I see there's been a lot of interest in physics in the chat, typically students would apply directly to the PhD and only apply to the master's if they were specifically interested in a master's degree. Many of the students who apply to areas in engineering for a PhD program often have a master's degree. And of course, if you already have a master's degree, they would expect you to have a much clearer understanding of what you want to do. So you can apply directly to the PhD, certainly. And they would take into account if you're at a bachelor's level or you have a master's degree, your application, they would expect to have a little bit more substance if you already have a master's degree. And so, I think that it's, all of the applications are reviewed on a holistic basis, and it really depends on the individual. There's not a fixed formula that says, if you work for 2 years and get a master's degree, then you're guaranteed to get admitted to a PhD program. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And if 1 year, so if you want to do a particular area, so my area is digital signal processing, if the people, and I do audio and speech. So if the faculty member who does audio and speech has no openings, even if I was the best candidate ever, I might not get admitted because that person has no openings and can't supervise me. And they would say, if you apply again in a year later, then that person will have someone who graduates and can take you on into the lab. So, sometimes you look and say, well, my record is better than a friend of mine's record, and they got in and I didn't get in, because it's not just straight scores and GPA and things like that. It's many things that all come together that factor into the admission decision.
Thank you. Another question that came up was, can I take courses from other disciplines? Do I have what we call electives? Or must I take courses only from my department?
In almost all of our programs, they have electives available. And in fact, in some PhD programs, they may require or even encourage you to take courses from other departments. They might, for example, taking signal processing again, they would strongly encourage you to take a lot of math courses because signal processing is very math focused, and you would be much more successful if you have a lot of math. And so our programs, such as our MPS programs, like data science, have additional courses beyond the technical courses already built in, because they're looking at how do you best prepare for a career. So, they would have project management and courses like that will help you succeed in your career.
Thank you. That was super helpful. And with this, I would like to wrap up. I've already taken a lot of your time, Janet, but thanks to everyone who stopped by today. We actually maxed out our Zoom. We had 100 attendees at one point, and there were a lot of people who could not enter the room. But for the overflow, we do have a YouTube link, and a lot of students actually viewed us live on YouTube as well. So some of the questions I posed you had also come from there. So it's great. So thank you so much for your time. We do hope to interact with you again and get into the details of some of the wonderful programs that you do have at UMBC. And perhaps we can, in a future session, we can be joined by some of our alumni who are currently studying there, and that could be a lot more interactive, and they can shed some light from a student's perspective as well. So, there's that would be pretty interesting too. So.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with all of you today, and I wish all of you the best of luck as you pursue your continuing education goals and your careers.
So, thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful day or week ahead, and all the best.